Retro review time today again, and whilst I've got one that technically is retro, over 10 years old, it's still in the bag of a multiple major winner. More on that in a moment, but as always, this video is in association with Golf Clubs for Cash, one of the leading retailers of pre-loved equipment. So if you're looking for value in the second-hand market, please go and check those guys out on their website and in the new Golf Clubs for Cash app. You'll find some great deals, and they provided us with some absolute gems to test. Now, those in the know will remember this, the TaylorMade sldr hybrid, as maybe the rocket ship of all hybrids. Now, I paid just $64.99 for this iconic hybrid, and to give you a bit of context, this whole sldr, incredibly popular sldr range of drivers, fairways and hybrids was actually a bit of a mistake. It was TaylorMade's first foray into creating the lowest spinning products possible by pushing that CG right the way forward, and boy oh boy, did it work. So the problem, if there was one, with this sldr range of drivers, fairways and hybrids was that basically no one could get it in the air. So even tour feedback, it was just too piercing, there wasn't enough spin on the ball. So TaylorMade reacted really cleverly and swiftly with the introduction of their Loft Up campaign. So TaylorMade recognised what essentially was a mistake, and they reacted with a brilliant marketing campaign, which essentially encouraged people into higher lofts than they were ordinarily used to. So if you were being fitted into an sldr driver at that time and your standard loft would have been about 9 degrees, then you might have been in an 11 degree or even a 12 degree head with sldr. Right, sorry to interrupt. If you are enjoying this video and you like the retro review series, please hit the like button, it really helps us out. Subscribe to the channel and comment down below, so anything you'd like me to review. So that was the answer with driver. So you had a lot of these people were struggling with spin, now lofted up, so their launch was higher, but the spin was still under control. So that was really the birth of what we now know as optimal driving conditions of high launch and low spin. But onto the fairways and hybrids. Now, these suited brilliantly a specific type of player that might have some excessive spin, would often balloon their fairways and hybrids before. All of a sudden, this low spin profile produced some absolute rockets. And one of those players in particular was two-time major champion Martin Kaymer. So at his peak, Kaymer was a serial fader of the golf ball. He hit down on it quite a lot and generated an awful lot of spin. So this sldr range was absolutely perfect. And for ages, he had the full complement of driver, fairway wood and hybrid in his bag, including his 2014 Players Championship and US Open wins. Now, believe it or not, to this day, Kaymer still has the hybrid in his bag. And I recently caught up with him at the Live Golf JCB UK event, and here's what he had to say about his hybrid.
You want to go to the hybrid?
Yeah, let's move down then. So perfect.
Yeah.
So we're going through, we've got driver 3, we're into the hybrid. Now we've got a really old model here, which I love. This one. We've got TaylorMade sldr, and this has been in your bag for quite some time. And may I say, you look after it. 2013, so we're past the decade now. May I say, you're looking after it very well. It's not looking too bad, is it?
We changed the shaft 2 or 3 times, because obviously, you know, a few things happen to the shaft over the years. But the head still looks pretty good. This is a club that I trust the most. I know exactly what it does, and I think when TaylorMade brought out the sldr woods, they were the best woods the last 15 years. But obviously the drive and 3 wood, I mean, I don't have them anymore, they don't do them anymore, so we need to move on.
That's what you used, I think US Open, wasn't it? Pinehurst, I remember. sldr driver, fairway. Was this in the bag that week?
It was in the bag. Since 2013, I never took it out. I tried a few other hybrids, but they were not as good as this one. It's
pretty strong, this. It's base loft of 17 degrees, and you've got it on the lower loft sleeve setting as well. So it's, depending on whether this is a 1.5 or a 2 degree sleeve, this could be 15.5 degrees. So it's quite strong.
It's a strong hybrid, but I would say I can take maybe 15-20 yards off it. So, you know, I can still hit it high and soft. So that's why, even though it says lower and has very little loft for a hybrid, but I can still hit those soft fades into the green.
A versatile old favourite. That's what Martin Kaymer thinks of this hybrid, but I want to know what I think of the hybrid. So I've come out to the practice ground, I bought my full swing kit launch monitor, I just want to get some numbers and get some shots away and get my initial impressions. Well, that was really interesting. I really enjoyed testing that. I've actually used this product before in my own bag, so it's a bit of a trip down memory lane for me. And I had it in the standard setting there, and this is the 2 hybrid. It's 17 degrees base loft, and that's what I left it at there. And what I was getting out of that from a data point of view, is it was a little bit spinnier than I thought, but that's generally my sort of the way I err. I'm a bit of a high spin player. So I was getting kind of 4,800 revs per minute out of that with a 109-foot apex. My average carry was about 238 yards. In terms of the unquantifiables, the feel was just as solid as I remember. There was no sense of tinniness or clanginess, just a real solid thud. And I really like the way it frames the golf ball at address. But one thing I did notice when I spoke to Keimer is he had his in a very, very strong loft. And with these loft sleeves from TaylorMade, this is a 1.5 degree sleeve, I can actually take this from 17 all the way down to 15.5 or up to 18.5. So I'm really keen to do that now and see what the data says. Well, that was some really interesting data when I nudged that loft sleeve about. Firstly, in the lower setting, or the Martin Keimer setting, as I'm going to call that, my carry distance didn't change at all. It was identical, 238 yards, but with a significantly different flight. So 76 feet of peak height compared to that 109 in the standard setting, and basically 1,000 revs less spin, so 3,810 revs per minute. So as you can imagine from that, and you've probably seen from the traces, a significantly more piercing ball flight, and the total distance was up significantly there, about 15 yards further. So that's a really interesting weapon, say on a links course or in the wind, to be able to bring the flight down like that and take the spin off. That could be a real weapon for me. Then when I changed it up and I tuned it up by 1.5 degrees to that 18.5 loft number, my carry distance went up quite considerably, so 10 yards further, nearly 250, 248 yards. Peak height, as you would imagine, 115 feet. But the spin didn't get out of control. It was only 100 revs more than when it was in the standard setting. So, but again, that could be a real weapon for me. If I was playing somewhere with a lot of forced carries into par fives over water where I need a steep descending angle, but without the spin getting out of control, that higher loft setting could be really, really useful. So a very, very versatile setting, and something I've always loved about that TaylorMade loft sleeve, the ability to personalize that golf club. Well, I really, really enjoyed that. Essentially what I found here is a great feeling, a great sounding and great performing hybrid. It's almost 3 hybrids within one. Just tuning that loft sleeve about really manipulated that ball flight, that peak height and that spin number. So it's a really, really versatile club. I think if I was going to use it, I would probably have it in that Keimer setting, the lower. I really enjoyed that piercing ball flight with very little spin that's going to really sort of navigate its way through any headwind and give me that rollout that I like, and sort of driving iron style performance. But as always, the purpose of these videos is to find out whether some of these older products have a place in today's game. And I think just by virtue of the fact that Martin Keimer, a multiple major champion, is still using it, that should be validation enough. But from what I found there as well, for $64.99, all of the launch monitor numbers are comparable with anything else I've tested in the hybrid range recently. So I think there is some genuine value to be had.